Hey guys, welcome back to another video here at TrinFx. Another market analysis. So just getting straight into it, we're just going to jump right into the charts and we're going to take a quick look at what we have upcoming, as well as some trade setups that we could possibly get into, and also a look at last week's trades as well. So I'll actually be, showing you guys a little bit of the VIP group, and the trades that we took during last week's trading week. So just to get a quick overview, taking a look here at the, I'm not seeing this here. Taking a quick look of last week's trades. All right, you can see that we did have a couple of trade setups, and we did get quite a bit, right? So you got quite a bit of trade setups. Also taking a look at, how the markets were moving. Markets are very strange, really, right now, at least from my perspective. And with that being said, some of the trade setups were hit or miss, and some were good, some were bad. As you know, with trading, it's an up and down thing. Not all the time you will get trades that go along with your strategy that you implement for yourself. Sometimes it may align with your technical analysis, your fundamental analysis, and still yet the trade can go against you. So that's just part of trading that we have to accept as traders. This is something that we don't have any real control over when it comes to the markets. We could just do our analysis, and with the probabilities given, we could just figure out, maybe this is the direction that this trade is going to go into. It agrees with my analysis, therefore I'm going to place a trade here, and sometimes that doesn't work out. So that's just something we always have to take with a grain of salt. But taking a quick look, you can see that we did have a couple of trades. EUR-CAD, we were looking for a buy here. This never got triggered immediately until a little bit afterwards. It did get triggered, right? So you can see here we did get a trade into that, right? Price dropped down. This was right about after the market gap closed, right? As you know, during the market open, you can see price dropped down a little bit here, and then we took another buy stop position. We didn't see price to move up to the upside. I'm more so on the bearish side when it comes to the US dollar as well as the Canadian dollar. We have seen in the recent movements that the US dollar and the Canadian dollar have been moving in tandem with each other. So if I'm short on the USD, for the time being, I'm also short on CAD, and that's something that we've been seeing time and time again. Unless we do have some critical, high impactful news for the Canadian economy or the US economy, at that point, I would take away from that juncture that we build on in terms of the correlation between the CAD and the US dollar, and see how that news impacts whatever currency it is that the news is coming out for. So for example, retail sales comes out for the Canadian dollar. At that point, I don't expect the US dollar and the Canadian dollar to follow suit and move together with each other, because this is a Canadian news event. Therefore, when it actually hits, it would affect more so impactfully on the Canadian dollar itself, rather than it showing some sort of relation with the US dollar. So that's something that you need to take into consideration as well when it comes to your fundamental analysis. So yeah, just take a quick look. We had a couple of buy stops, really more so buy stops and not immediate market executions. AUD CHF, this was a nice trade here. I remember we got into this and it played out almost immediately right here. So you can see right after that, played out for 2%, could close or leave the risk running with, a break-even stop, therefore making the trade risk-free. As well as CAD JPY, this was another trade setup that we got into here, and you can see another 2%. So right there and then 4%, really easy. And you can see that we had that continuation here for AUD CHF. Took an additional risk. I was on my phone. I wasn't at my PC at the time, and I sent this out looking for a continuation moving downwards. However, it did come and close this early, just because at the looks of it, it looked like price could have shown some sort of reversing. Same thing here on the CAD JPY. Was looking for that continuation move, but again showed signs of possible reversing, so he did end up closing it a little bit early before actually getting stopped out all the way. And the EUR-USD, this was a buy risking 1.5%. I don't know why the chart sent like this. At the time I sent it, it was displaying the chart itself properly, but I don't know. closed the EUR-USD at break even here. So again, really paying attention to how the markets are moving pretty weirdly, and therefore just not taking the additional risk. This did end up actually going in our favor, however, by that point of time we were already out of the move, and you can see here, right? So this was just a continuation moving along the EUR-USD as well. Price is going to gap up. GBP-AUD, this was another trade, and the AUD card, and this was a continuation trade which actually ended up playing in our favor as well, right? We adjust risk. Overall, it was a pretty good week, despite, you know, the little hiccups that we did have from the price action itself and on the spill news when it comes concerning the US dollar as well as the euro economy. All right, but jumping quick into it, this week what I'm looking for, I'm more focused. Again, I am US dollar bearish, as well as a little bit heavy on the upside for the risk assets that we would be taking a look at. So just take a look at the fundamental calendar, take a look at the economic calendar to do our fundamental analysis. We do have some major news coming up. We have the employment change numbers for the GBP. So that's something that we have to pay attention to here. The amount of people that is employed, right, in the London economy. So this is something we should pay attention to here. You can see that the number itself, the consensus to the previous, is quite less than the last set of numbers that we did get, right? So they are expected more of a bearish sort of a number here. So with that being said, coming into this week, if we do see the numbers coming out as 150 or less, then we could expect to see the GBP reverse and actually have sort of a bearish movement, as well as the unemployment rate. If this actually comes out higher at 4% or even higher, this would also take a negative turn on the GBP itself. So that is something that we have to pay attention to coming into this week on Tuesday. One of the more main focused news events. We also have inflation and CPI for the US dollar. CPI looking to come out higher than the previous. Now this is sort of a tricky thing to really pay attention to when it comes to, you know, trying to get into a trade before the news event itself. Usually when we do have the consensus and the previous, the consensus is like a generalization as to what to expect. However, with the US economy, things have been sort of erratic. So with that being said, I would say I would wait until after the news event do come out to take a possible trade or look at any setups with the US dollar involved in it. One trade I would actually be considering though, as I am still US dollar bearish, is a EUR-USD buy. Looking at technical position, we can see that we are seeing more of a bullish movement, more bullish momentum. Price did come up to this level here, right? So we did come up into this resistance zone and we had a strong rejection back down here. So if we could form some sort of support, as you can see here, then we could possibly see a continuation to the upside or swing to the upside. Again, if we do have those bearish news coming out for the US dollar, that should help impact this to have an upside swing. So inflation rate looking to come down, with that meaning that we would slow down, or at least if this does come out as expected here at 4.1%, then we could expect to see no interest rates increase, or that would just give us more confirmation of seeing interest rates for the US dollar remaining the same this week, right? We do have interest rate coming up, I believe the Wednesday, right? So we do have interest rates coming out the Wednesday, and it looks like the consensus is for it to remain the same. So if we do see the inflation rate here being lower than the previous, or at that 4.1%, that gives us a good indication that the Fed would see no reason to actually hike interest rate any higher. So with that being said, the US dollar would have sort of a more bearish momentum to it as we decrease from those interest rate hiking. So EUR-USD looks pretty solid for a buy setup. I would be targeting this area here, this green line that you are seeing, horizontal zone, at 1.08271. right? That is the more major resistance zone that we could possibly see price rise into. uh just to give you guys like a quick example as to, okay, so if I'm going to take this trade, what it is that I'm looking at, what would be my levels. Again, this will be like my major target level, and my stop loss would be somewhere right around here below this supportive zone, right? Because we all can see the supportive zone being maintained. I would risk 2% on this and actually add to this trade. If we can see price push right above this area, then we should get a clean continuation to the upside. So this is one possible trade. Another trade I think is really possible as well is USD JPY. I really don't trade USD JPY or any USD pairs like that, just because the US dollar has a lot of fluctuations, a lot of manipulation, and the US economy itself is pretty big. So there's a lot of news events on the spur news as well, comments made by Fed representatives that does affect the US dollar pretty erratically. So I try to stay away from the US dollar on a whole as a traded currency. But looking into this week, I do expect to see some downside on the dollar, right? If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If I'm right, then great. But I could be wrong as well. This isn't like a 100% sure thing. Just using the fundamental data that we do have from the previous week, as well as the expectancy from the major movers, major players of the market itself, right? These are some of the things that we could expect to see. Now, I am expecting that downside more so of a buying safe haven, investors flocking towards the yen and the CHF. So, in terms of the Japanese yen pairs, I do think the US dollar slash the Japanese yen really should give us more of a cleaner, platey downside than any of the other Japanese cross pairs. So, with this, I think this is a reasonable enough target or something to look at. All right, as soon as markets open, we could get into a quick sell to the downside and just see how this plays out. If you want to be more conservative, you can't wait to actually see price pass all these levels here. So if you just drag this to the side here, we can see that, okay, we have this sort of zone movement right here where price will bouncing back and forth between this level, right? So price always came into the supportive level. We had it push past a little bit, came back up, striked here, and now we're back up here again. So with that being said, if you want to be more conservative, you can wait to see price push below this level, and then you look for a trade setup for a continuation moving lower, right? At that point, you would have more clearer price action movement to determine whether or not this is a trade setup you want to get into. Continuing on, for the Wednesday, we do have some PPI news for the US dollar. So it's a pretty US dollar heavy news week. So we have PPI. If you don't know what that is, that's Producer Price Index. So just to give you like a quick look at what that means. Right. So it's a Producer Price Index. For the final, demand is used in the United States to measure price changes, right? So it's for personal consumption, capital investment, government, and export, right? It is composed of 6 main price indexes, right? Final demand goods, which account for 33% of the total weight, right? So it's between goods, construction, transportation, warehouse services, as well as other miscellaneous stuff, not including gas and oil prices, right? Because those change pretty erratically over the months. So with that being said, PPI is something that you should pay attention to, as you have seen in consensus from the previous. It does look like we're going to expect negative bad numbers, right? So that again would give us more of a confirmation to see US dollar bearishness. So at this point, like I said, wait until the news events do come out and then make your decision rather than trying to get into it beforehand, just because we have been seeing, okay, the consensus value has been wrong from time to time, right? So just to avoid unnecessary risk, and if you want to be more conservative, then you can't wait to actually see the numbers first and then make a decision as to what you want to do if you're looking to trade the US dollar, right? Interest rate decision, this being one of the more main focused news events coming out this week. And we also have some JPY news and AD employment news, right? So AD employment, looking to see positive numbers, which is great for the AD. So if we're taking a look here, and if I'm looking at the AD, I'm really more focused on stuff like AD CHF and maybe AD USD would be great, just because we do have a strong correlation, right? So between the two currencies, we have more of a bearish tone on US dollar, more of a bullish tone on the Australian dollar, right? So we have this clear-cut difference in terms of the fundamental bias on the two currencies themselves. So we should see a rise or continuation moving up on the AED. So that's something we're paying attention to as well. Other than that, we have ECB interest rates again too. So this is expected to see an increase by 25 basis points. So we'll see how that actually plays out. This doesn't actually have to mean that price would move in a bullish manner for the euro dollar itself. We have seen in the past where interest rates has come out positive for the euro dollar, but for whatever reason it had sink, right? So it sunk. With that being said, I would say to be cautious when it comes to the ECB interest rate decision, right? And we have retail sales and some other news events, right? So in terms of my main focus for this week, it's really the AD and the euro USD, right? So I'm focused on buying this as well as AD CHF, possibly seeing buys on the AD coming closer to the news events itself. If we take a look here at the daily, just to do a quick analysis here on AD CHF, we could see overall pretty strong bearish movement, right? From a daily perspective, over the weeks and months, we've been seeing a pretty strong bearish movement. However, given the recent days, we have seen that bullish movement to the upside, coming back into this major resistance area. So moving forward, could we expect price to continue with this bullish movement, right, and push past this resistance zone? Or are we going to see a sharp, quick rejection and a continuation moving lower? So it's really anybody's guess. If we take a look at the more recent data, right, we could see that we had this really strong movement to the upside. But with the fundamental data that we do have coming out, again, also we do have that US dollar weakness, we would see the CHF and the JPY being affected as well. So we might see some strength being displayed on that, as well as the assets, risk assets may pick up in terms of more of a bullish tone. So it's really a duality to it, right? When it comes to trading, sometimes what one currency is doing affects multiple currencies. And with that being said, we could see some range in movement depending on what pair we're going to trade, right? So with the ADCHF, I would say I'm more of on a bearish tone, right? I'm more of on the bullish side. However, with the different fundamental factors we do have in play, we could see that CHF actually picking up steam. If you want something more clear cut, I would say AD USD is a pretty good one, and AD CAD, right? Looking for the continuation, see upside. Again, clear cut, AD bullish, USD bearish, should see a continuation move to the upside. So this one right here would be a trade I would look to get into, right? And I'm being pretty tight with my stop losses. So as soon as price pushes up and above this, there should be no reason to actually see it reverse and come back below this resistance. Well, this resistance turn support at that point, right? So there should be no reason to see price action move like this. What we should see, right, following the fundamental data, we should see price push above, maintain that resistance turn support, and then a continuation moving upwards. So in terms of the price action play, we want to see that, right? We want to see price continue to the upside. So this is what I'm looking at in terms of AD USD, which I would be getting to early as soon as markets open. I would be looking towards getting to the AUD-USD as well as EUR-USD, and however it plays out, it plays out. Alright guys, so this is it in terms of what I'm looking at for this week. I'm sorry, now getting back in the groove of everything with recording, putting up videos, the weekly analysis and everything, and trying to be more consistent with it. But this so far is what I'm looking at, is the only thing that looks reasonable for my trading strategy, what I implement. If you do have something else, if there's something else you are looking at, then feel free to, leave a comment, leave a link towards your chart analysis, or if you're in the Discord group as well, you can leave a link in that to your chart analysis, and yeah, share the knowledge. Alright guys, so thank you for joining in. I really do appreciate your patronage, and if you got some value out of this, feel free to share, like, subscribe, and yeah, tell a friend. Anybody that you know is interested in trading and would value videos like this, then feel free to share content. Alright guys, so thank you so much, and I do hope everybody has a great trading week. Peace.